What if something that feels good in the moment is slowly draining your drive, your motivation, and your future success? It sounds surprising, right? Most people think of masturbation as a natural part of life, something that offers a quick escape from stress or boredom. After all, it's a private, harmless act that many engage in without a second thought. But what if I told you that it might not be as innocent as it seems, especially when it comes to your long-term mental and emotional well-being? For years, we've been told that masturbation is just a harmless way to relieve tension, and in moderation, it certainly isn't a major problem. However, recent research and expert opinions suggest that frequent masturbation, especially when done to escape emotional stress or boredom, could be slowly chipping away at your drive to achieve more in life. It could be quietly undermining your focus, productivity, and even your ability to chase your dreams. You've probably experienced it yourself. After an orgasm, there's that brief moment of relief and relaxation. It feels good in the moment. But have you ever noticed that afterward you might feel a bit sluggish, unmotivated, or lacking in drive? What you're feeling isn't just physical tiredness, it's your brain and body reacting to a rush of chemicals that, when overused, can have unintended consequences. It's easy to dismiss these feelings as just a side effect of aging or something everyone goes through. However, the reality is that the effects of frequent masturbation on motivation and energy levels might be more significant than we realize. And the most dangerous part, many people are unaware of how it's subtly affecting their lives, draining their ability to focus, procrastinate, and stay motivated for their bigger goals. Think about it for a second. You have goals, whether it's getting in better shape, advancing in your career, or finishing a big project. You set your sights on these objectives, but as the days pass, you struggle to stay on track. Instead of working toward your goals, you feel the temptation to take a quick detour into instant gratification. One more time, just to relieve stress, and then when it's over, you're left with a sense of emptiness. The energy you need to stay motivated seems to have disappeared, and you wonder why you're feeling so stuck. What's happening here? The truth is, it's not just about how you're spending your time in the moment. It's about what that moment is doing to your long-term mindset and drive. Masturbation, especially when used as a coping mechanism for stress or as a quick fix for emotional discomfort, can trigger a cycle that feels impossible to break. You end up chasing fleeting moments of pleasure, but the more you seek out those quick highs, the harder it becomes to stay focused on the things that actually matter for your long-term success. It's all about balance. In moderation, masturbation can be a natural and healthy part of life, but when it becomes something you rely on to cope with stress, boredom, or loneliness, it can lead to a series of consequences you might not immediately connect with your habits. You start to lose the drive to do the things that matter. Tasks become harder to focus on. You procrastinate more, and the energy needed to take on bigger challenges simply isn't there. It's a subtle slide into complacency, but it's a slide that happens over time, and often you don't even notice it until it's too late. So before you dismiss this as just another overblown claim, let's take a deeper look at the science behind this issue. You see, the reason masturbation has this impact on motivation and energy levels is tied to the brain's chemistry. Masturbation, like other pleasurable activities, triggers the release of dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter. It gives you that quick surge of pleasure. But here's the catch. Dopamine doesn't just provide pleasure. It's also tied to your brain's reward system, and your brain starts to crave that instant reward more and more. The problem arises when the reward is too frequent, and the brain's natural balance starts to get thrown off. When you constantly seek these quick hits of dopamine, your brain can become desensitized to the normal long-term rewards of achievement. Instead of finding satisfaction in setting and achieving goals, you start looking for more immediate pleasure, and this can erode your ability to focus on tasks that require delayed gratification. Instead of pushing through the discomfort of hard work, your brain starts to crave easier, quicker rewards. Over time, the long-term goals that once felt exciting begin to lose their appeal. This shift in brain chemistry isn't just about feeling tired after masturbation, it's about the larger pattern it creates in your life. When your brain becomes accustomed to frequent bursts of pleasure, it can become more difficult to focus on activities that take effort, planning, and time. Your drive to pursue challenging goals starts to fade because the immediate gratification of masturbation feels like a much easier, more rewarding option. Now let's be clear, No one is saying you should eliminate masturbation from your life entirely. The key here is moderation and awareness. It's about recognizing when you're using masturbation to avoid the discomfort of working on long-term goals and how that habit may be feeding into a larger issue of procrastination and avoidance. It's about being mindful of the choices you're making and how those choices might be affecting your motivation and focus in ways you haven't even realized. If you've noticed yourself feeling more sluggish, distracted, or procrastinating more than usual, it could be time to take a step back and evaluate your habits. Ask yourself, am I using masturbation as a form of instant gratification to avoid stress or discomfort? Is this act of relief draining me of the energy and motivation I need to achieve the things that truly matter? If so, it's time to make some changes. In this video, we'll dive into the ways masturbation can affect your motivation in ways you may not have expected. And more importantly, we'll explore what you can do to regain control over your energy and drive. By the end of this video, you'll have a clearer understanding of the subtle, yet powerful impact masturbation might be having on your life. And more importantly, how you can shift your habits to reclaim your focus and motivation. Stay with me until the end, because some of these insights might surprise you. And if you've ever struggled with motivation or felt like something was holding you back from achieving your goals, this video might be exactly what you need to hear. So let's get started and uncover the hidden costs of something that for many has become a normal part of daily life. Masturbation, like many pleasurable activities, triggers a release of dopamine, the so-called feel-good chemical. It's the same chemical that floods your brain when you eat a delicious meal, when you win a game, or when you achieve something significant. Dopamine is directly tied to the reward and pleasure systems of the brain. It's what makes you feel that instant gratification, that rush of satisfaction, that brief high. It's an incredible feeling, one that keeps us coming back for more. But here's the problem. That rush of dopamine is not as harmless as it may seem. In the moment, masturbation feels great, but it comes at a cost, one that's not immediately obvious. Over time, frequent stimulation of the brain's dopamine system can have some serious consequences on your long-term motivation and ability to stay focused. The issue here isn't just the momentary pleasure, but the fact that the brain becomes accustomed to that immediate reward, which in turn starts to affect how you view tasks that don't offer instant gratification. You see, our brains are wired for rewards, and when we experience something pleasurable, we're motivated to seek it out again. It's an adaptive survival mechanism that encourages us to repeat behaviors that lead to positive outcomes. But when it comes to masturbation, especially when used frequently as a way to cope with boredom, stress, or frustration, that short-term pleasure becomes the primary focus. Instead of focusing on long-term goals, whether it's fitness, work, learning, or personal growth, the brain starts to crave that quick, easy reward. The more you give in to this instant gratification, the harder it becomes to stay motivated for tasks that require effort and patience. This is where the concept of dopamine burnout comes in. When you constantly flood your brain with dopamine through activities like masturbation, it creates a cycle that is difficult to break. Your brain becomes desensitized to the smaller, slower rewards in life, like completing a task, working toward a long-term goal, or even building a new skill. Tasks that once felt exciting and rewarding now seem dull, and you may struggle to focus on them because they don't offer the same immediate high. In essence, your brain starts to prefer the quick rewards over anything that takes effort and time. It's easy to see how this could affect your motivation. Imagine trying to study for an exam or write a report, but all your brain is craving is a quick dopamine hit. Instead of diving into the task at hand, your brain might urge you to put it off, convincing you that you deserve a break, or that you'll feel better after indulging in something that feels immediately rewarding. The problem is that once you give in to that urge, you're reinforcing the cycle of procrastination. The more you choose short-term pleasure over long-term fulfillment, the more you lose the drive to push through the hard work and effort required for success. What's worse is that dopamine isn't just about motivation, it's also linked to your sense of satisfaction. So if you're constantly seeking quick hits of dopamine, you may start to feel unsatisfied with tasks that don't provide the same immediate rewards. You may find it harder to get excited about long-term goals, because your brain is accustomed to seeking instant gratification. It's a pattern that's hard to break, but not impossible. When you rely too heavily on quick dopamine-driven rewards, you start to become less resilient to the discomfort that comes with working on something difficult. You begin to seek out ways to avoid discomfort rather than pushing through it. This is what leads to procrastination and a lack of motivation. Instead of learning to sit with the discomfort of hard work, you look for ways to avoid it, whether that's through masturbation, social media, or other distractions. The brain learns that the discomfort of working on a goal can be avoided with a quick fix, and that avoidance behavior becomes a habit. But there's a way out of this dopamine trap. The first step is recognizing that the constant search for instant pleasure is undermining your long-term goals. It's about becoming more aware of how often you're seeking that quick fix, and asking yourself whether that temporary pleasure is worth the long-term cost to your motivation and productivity. The next step is to rebuild your ability to enjoy tasks that require patience and effort. This might mean setting clear goals, rewarding yourself in healthier ways, or learning how to delay gratification. But it's not just about cutting out the bad habits. It's about replacing them with behaviors that help you stay focused, driven, and motivated over the long term. In essence, dopamine is a double-edged sword. In the right amounts and in the right context, it motivates us, encourages us, and keeps us moving forward. But when we rely on it too much from sources like masturbation, we end up sabotaging our motivation. Our brains crave the immediate rush, but we have to train ourselves to resist that urge and instead focus on the rewards that come from hard work, discipline, and patience. The good news is that this cycle can be broken by consciously choosing tasks that require effort, by limiting your exposure to instant gratification, and by reinforcing the value of long-term rewards. You can rewire your brain to enjoy the process of working toward your goals. You can regain the motivation and energy that may have been drained by frequent, impulsive dopamine spikes. And once you regain control over your dopamine system, you'll find that achieving your goals becomes not only possible but more rewarding than ever before. Ever notice that after masturbating, you feel a little more sluggish or unmotivated? It's not just in your head, it's actually rooted in the way your body and brain respond to the act. While masturbation isn't inherently draining, it can over time lead to a decrease in your overall energy levels, and here's why. When you orgasm, your body releases a mix of hormones and neurotransmitters, dopamine, oxytocin, and prolactin, each serving a unique function. Dopamine gives you that immediate rush of pleasure, while oxytocin promotes feelings of closeness and relaxation. But it's prolactin that's key here. This hormone is linked to a sense of satisfaction and relaxation, but it also causes a temporary decrease in motivation and energy. Prolactin plays a major role in the post-orgasmic slump, where your body feels relaxed, but also a bit drained. This drop in energy isn't a big deal when it happens once in a while, but when masturbation becomes a regular habit, it starts to add up. The more you indulge, the more your body and brain get used to the ebb and flow of high-energy highs, followed by low-energy lows. Instead of feeling recharged after a release, you may start to notice that you're feeling more tired and less driven to tackle tasks. What was once an energy release now feels like a drain, and over time, this pattern can undermine your motivation. Think about it this way. When you don't get the rest and recharge you need after a session, your body doesn't get the chance to recover, and you're left feeling sluggish and unproductive. This energy drain can show up in many ways: struggling to get through a workday, feeling too tired to exercise, or finding it difficult to get excited about your goals. This lack of drive isn't just physical, it's psychological as well. When you don't feel energized, it's easy to start questioning your ability to accomplish anything, and that doubt can seep into all areas of your life. The real issue arises when this drop in energy turns into a habit. If masturbation is your go-to method of coping with stress, boredom, or loneliness, you're reinforcing that energy drop again and again. The cycle becomes self-sustaining. You feel drained, you procrastinate, and to avoid feeling even worse, you turn to masturbation for another quick energy burst. But that burst in turn leaves you even more tired, and the cycle continues. What's important here is recognizing that your energy is a limited resource, and how you spend it impacts your ability to stay motivated. When masturbation becomes a regular habit, it can gradually steal the energy you need to focus on the bigger long-term tasks. This isn't just about physical energy, it's mental and emotional energy too. And once your energy starts to dip regularly, it becomes harder to stay engaged with your goals, making it even more challenging to follow through on the important things in your life. If you're feeling like this energy drain is becoming a habit, it's time to take a step back. The key is moderation and balance, understanding that while a moment of relief can feel good, frequent indulgence may be draining your motivation and energy. The next step is creating healthier habits that restore your energy and keep you focused, giving you the stamina needed to work toward your bigger goals. If you've ever found yourself procrastinating, putting off important tasks, or avoiding difficult emotions, you may not realize that your masturbation habits could be part of the problem. It's not just about feeling physically tired or unmotivated, it's about how masturbation, when used as an escape, can trigger a cycle of avoidance that erodes your ability to tackle the challenges in your life. Let me explain. Masturbation, like other pleasurable activities, offers a form of escape, a way to temporarily avoid stress, boredom, or even difficult emotions like anxiety, frustration, or sadness. In the short term, it feels great. You get that rush of dopamine, you feel a sense of relief, and for a moment, life's pressures fade away. But here's the catch. This relief doesn't address the underlying issues. Instead, it provides a quick fix, leaving the real problems unresolved. And over time, this creates a cycle of avoidance, where you rely on quick pleasures to temporarily mask stress or discomfort instead of dealing with what's really bothering you. When you use masturbation as a coping mechanism, you're reinforcing a habit of avoidance. Every time you face something stressful or uncomfortable, whether it's work, personal challenges, or emotions you don't want to deal with, the temptation to masturbate becomes a way to quickly escape. This avoidance feels like relief, but it doesn't get rid of the problem. Instead, it just pushes it to the side until the next time it resurfaces. The issue is that as you keep avoiding these tasks or emotions, the more difficult it becomes to break the cycle. The quick relief you get from masturbation becomes the go-to solution. But the real challenges you're avoiding, like facing your fears, tackling your work, or confronting your emotional needs, never get addressed. This constant avoidance, powered by the temporary escape of masturbation, has long-term consequences on your motivation. Over time, you lose the ability to handle discomfort. Instead of building the emotional resilience needed to face difficulties, you're training your brain to seek out immediate gratification every time things get tough. The more you rely on this quick fix, the harder it becomes to engage in tasks that require effort, patience, and focus. Tasks that could have once felt rewarding now seem overwhelming, and your motivation to tackle them dwindles. Let's break this down further. Imagine you have a big project at work, or you need to study for an exam, but instead of diving into it, you find yourself turning to masturbation as a way to relieve the stress or anxiety you're feeling. In the moment, it works, temporarily. The rush of pleasure provides that instant dopamine hit, and you feel a sense of relief. But once the rush fades, you're left with the same feelings of anxiety or stress, but now they've been amplified by the guilt or shame that sometimes follows the act. This creates a cycle where instead of tackling the root cause of the anxiety or stress, you reinforce the habit of avoidance, making it even harder to face the task at hand next time. Instead of learning to deal with challenges, you're training your brain to look for the next quick fix. This avoidance behavior isn't just about procrastination, it's about how you begin to associate the discomfort of difficult tasks with the need for an escape. Every time you avoid something, you're teaching your brain that discomfort is something to run from, and the solution is to indulge in something that provides instant relief. Over time, this becomes the default way of thinking, and the more you avoid, the more your motivation to face the real challenges in your life diminishes. It's important to recognize that this cycle doesn't just affect small tasks or fleeting moments of discomfort. It impacts your long-term goals. If you're procrastinating on small tasks today, it's much harder to stay motivated for the bigger picture. The more you avoid, the less momentum you build toward achieving meaningful goals. And the longer you stay in this cycle, the further you drift from the person you want to become. Instead of feeling like you're progressing and growing, you start feeling stuck. You begin to doubt yourself and your ability to follow through on important projects or life goals. The even more dangerous part of this cycle is that over time, you begin to lose the ability to enjoy the things you actually want to do. When you're constantly seeking out quick fixes, the things that require effort and long-term commitment like learning a new skill, building a career, or pursuing a passion can seem less appealing. Instead of feeling fulfilled from hard-earned success, you start seeking instant gratification for comfort. And before you know it, the things you used to care about lose their luster. This is when the vicious cycle of avoidance and procrastination really takes hold. The more you procrastinate, the more you lose confidence in your ability to get things done. The less you accomplish, the more you turn to masturbation to escape those feelings of failure or frustration. The more you use it as an escape, the deeper you sink into the cycle. This is a self-reinforcing loop, and it's one that's difficult to break because it's so closely tied to the brain's reward system. So what can you do to break free from this cycle? The first step is becoming aware of how your avoidance behaviors are affecting your motivation. Start noticing when you feel the urge to masturbate in response to stress, anxiety, or boredom. Pay attention to whether you're using it as an escape from tasks you find difficult or unpleasant. Once you become more aware of these patterns, you can begin to take conscious action to break them. One powerful tool for breaking the cycle is mindfulness. Instead of turning to quick fixes, practice sitting with discomfort. Learn how to deal with the emotional discomfort that comes with facing difficult tasks. Take small steps each day to push through procrastination and avoid the temptation of escape. Whether it's by breaking down tasks into manageable chunks, setting timers, or finding healthier ways to cope with stress, the goal is to reduce your reliance on avoidance. Another key strategy is to build positive momentum. The more you accomplish, even small things, the more motivated you'll feel. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by the big picture, focus on making small, incremental progress. Each step forward builds your confidence and creates a sense of achievement. This momentum can help you break free from the avoidance cycle and regain your drive to take on bigger challenges. In the end, it's all about shifting your mindset. Instead of using masturbation as a way to escape discomfort, learn how to face discomfort head-on and keep moving forward. When you stop avoiding and start engaging with the challenges in your life, you'll find that motivation comes much easier, and that your goals are much more attainable than you once thought. Have you ever tried to focus on something important after masturbating, only to find that your mind just isn't quite as sharp? It's a strange feeling, but one that many people experience without fully understanding why. While you might feel a temporary sense of relaxation or pleasure after the act, something deeper is happening that could be negatively impacting your ability to concentrate and think clearly. Masturbation, especially when it's frequent, can have a surprising effect on your mental clarity and focus. The post-orgasmic state that follows sexual release isn't just about physical relaxation. It's also about a shift in brain chemistry. During orgasm, your brain releases a cocktail of chemicals, including dopamine, oxytocin, and prolactin. Dopamine provides that rush of pleasure and motivation. But the problem lies in prolactin. Prolactin is a hormone that increases significantly after orgasm, and it plays a role in the cool-down period that follows. It's the reason why you might feel a bit tired, less driven, or even mentally foggy after masturbation. While prolactin's effects are short-lived, the problem comes when this cycle is repeated frequently. The more often you experience these fluctuations in hormone levels, the more your brain and body get used to the fluctuations, and the harder it can be to snap out of that fog. This is where the real issue lies. Repeated masturbation, especially when used as a way to cope with stress, boredom, or anxiety, could be eroding your ability to maintain mental clarity and focus over time. Imagine trying to sit down and concentrate on a task, whether it's work, studying, or personal goals, only to find that your mind keeps wandering. You're distracted, feeling mentally sluggish, and unable to focus for long periods. It's frustrating, isn't it? Well, it might be linked to your habits. When you're used to the rapid dopamine bursts from quick pleasures like masturbation, the brain struggles to find that same sense of motivation and satisfaction in tasks that require effort and patience. Your brain is conditioned to seek instant gratification, and this makes it harder to stay engaged in activities that require sustained focus. It's not just the chemical reactions at play here, it's also the way your brain's reward system gets rewired over time. The more you seek out that immediate pleasure, the more difficult it becomes to stay present with tasks that don't provide that same instant reward. It's like your brain gets accustomed to shortcuts, constantly seeking quick rewards, and pushing back against things that require real effort. This shift in priorities directly affects your ability to focus, to dive deep into work or learning, and to stay motivated on long-term projects. This lack of mental clarity also has a significant impact on your productivity. It's one thing to feel distracted for a few minutes, but when it becomes a regular pattern, it can drain your efficiency. Whether it's forgetting details, missing deadlines, or constantly needing to refocus, the mental fog from frequent masturbation can make even simple tasks feel like monumental challenges. It's a subtle drain on your cognitive resources, and over time it adds up. Moreover, this mental fog can bleed into your emotional state as well. When you're unable to focus, it can lead to feelings of frustration, self-doubt, or even anxiety. You might start questioning your ability to get things done or feel like you're falling behind in life. These emotions further feed into a cycle of avoidance and procrastination, making it harder to get back on track and stay mentally sharp. The key to reversing this is awareness. The first step is to notice when you're feeling mentally sluggish or foggy, especially after masturbation. Pay attention to how often you experience this lack of clarity and ask yourself if frequent masturbation is contributing to it. If you find that your mental state is regularly affected, it might be time to reassess your habits. Moderation is crucial. Masturbation in itself isn't the problem, but excessive reliance on it for quick fixes or emotional relief can gradually erode your mental focus. To regain your mental clarity, you need to build habits that promote sustained focus. This includes setting clear goals, practicing mindfulness, exercising regularly, and getting enough rest. These practices can help reset your brain's reward system, allowing you to find satisfaction in long-term, effortful tasks. By prioritizing activities that require sustained attention and providing your brain with positive challenges, you can rebuild your cognitive strength and break free from the mental fog that frequent masturbation may have contributed to. One of the best ways to combat this mental fog is by creating a routine that encourages focus. This could mean cutting down on distractions, setting specific times for relaxation and downtime, and ensuring that you have a clear plan for each day. With each task you complete, you'll rebuild your confidence, sharpen your mental clarity, and regain the drive that might have been dulled by habits of avoidance and instant pleasure. Remember, your mind is one of the most important resources you have. Protecting it from habits that chip away at your focus and clarity can unlock your full potential. And as you start to regain control over your mental state, you'll find that achieving your long-term goals becomes easier and much more fulfilling. Have you ever noticed that after masturbating, you sometimes feel a sense of guilt or shame? It's an uncomfortable feeling that might linger for hours or even days, affecting your overall mood and self-esteem. It's not something that many people openly talk about, but if you're being honest with yourself, you may have experienced it at some point. And if you've been using masturbation as a way to cope with stress, anxiety, or loneliness, those feelings of guilt can become even more pronounced. What you may not realize is that this guilt could be quietly eroding your motivation and self-worth, making it harder for you to stay focused and driven. Masturbation, like any form of instant gratification, can be tied to a sense of momentary relief. It provides a temporary escape from emotions, challenges, or negative thoughts, offering a quick fix that makes you feel good in the moment. However, when that feeling fades, something else creeps in: the feeling of guilt. It's the thought that maybe you shouldn't have done it, that it's somehow wrong, or that you've wasted time on something that doesn't contribute to your long-term well-being. The more you give in to these feelings of guilt, the more they chip away at your self-esteem. The problem with this guilt is that it becomes self-reinforcing. When you feel bad about yourself for masturbating, you may start to question your worth or your ability to control your actions. This self-criticism can lead to a downward spiral, where your confidence takes a hit, and your motivation to achieve your goals starts to fade. Instead of feeling empowered and confident in your choices, you feel like you're letting yourself down, and this feeling of failure can start to affect other areas of your life, making it harder to stay focused on your work, your relationships, or even your personal growth. This cycle of guilt isn't just psychological, it also takes a physical toll on your body. When you feel guilty about something you've done, your stress levels can increase. You might start ruminating over the action, replaying it in your mind, and feeling bad about yourself, which can lead to higher levels of cortisol, the stress hormone. Increased cortisol can have a negative impact on your energy levels, mental clarity, and even your immune system. So in addition to the emotional toll of guilt, your body is also affected, which makes it even harder to stay motivated and productive. What's even more insidious is how guilt feeds into a cycle of avoidance. When you feel bad about yourself, your instinct might be to avoid facing the source of your guilt. This avoidance behavior can manifest in different ways: procrastinating on important tasks, withdrawing from social interactions, or retreating into other forms of quick fixes like excessive screen time or overeating. Instead of tackling the issues that are contributing to your guilt or dissatisfaction, you turn to behaviors that provide temporary relief, like masturbation, which only serve to reinforce the cycle. This pattern of avoidance keeps you stuck, trapped in a loop of guilt, shame, and inactivity, which further erodes your sense of self-worth. But here's the reality: this guilt is largely a result of how you're framing masturbation in your mind. While it's true that society has often placed shame and stigma around sexual behaviors, it's important to recognize that masturbation itself is not inherently harmful. It's a normal and natural act that most people engage in, and in moderation. It doesn't have to be something to feel guilty about. The issue arises when it becomes a way to cope with negative emotions or an outlet for avoidance, and when it starts to impact your emotional well-being in a way that leaves you feeling disconnected, unmotivated, and uncertain about your self-worth. The key to breaking this cycle is understanding that guilt doesn't serve you. It only makes things worse. Instead of letting guilt control your emotions, it's crucial to practice self-compassion and forgiveness. Instead of criticizing yourself for moments of indulgence, try to reframe your thinking. Acknowledge that it's okay to have moments of weakness or distraction, but also remind yourself that you have the power to make healthier choices moving forward. This shift in perspective is essential for rebuilding your confidence and motivation. Another way to address this issue is by addressing the root cause of your emotional distress. Are you turning to masturbation to escape stress, loneliness, or anxiety? If so, it might be time to explore healthier coping mechanisms. Instead of seeking relief through instant gratification, try engaging in activities that promote long-term emotional well-being, such as physical exercise, mindfulness, journaling, or seeking professional support. These strategies not only help to reduce feelings of guilt, but also improve your overall mental and emotional health. It's also important to practice mindfulness and be aware of how often you engage in masturbation as a way to cope. Awareness is the first step in breaking the cycle. By paying attention to your emotional triggers and understanding the role that masturbation plays in your emotional life, you can make more conscious decisions about how to approach it. Instead of letting it become a form of avoidance or self-criticism, you can develop a healthier relationship with your body and your emotions. Building healthier habits will also help reduce the guilt you feel afterward. Engaging in activities that promote self-care and self-worth, like exercising, eating nutritious foods, or working toward your goals, will boost your confidence and help you feel better about yourself. When you begin to feel good about yourself through your actions, the guilt surrounding masturbation will naturally diminish. In the end, breaking free from the cycle of guilt and self-criticism is about developing a healthier relationship with yourself. It's about recognizing that you're worthy of compassion and understanding, and that no one moment of indulgence defines who you are. By practicing self-forgiveness, seeking healthier ways to cope with your emotions, and focusing on building positive habits, you can rebuild your self-esteem and motivation. You'll find that, with time, your drive to pursue your goals and achieve your dreams will return, and you'll be stronger for having faced and overcome these challenges. One of the most powerful skills for success is delayed gratification. It's the ability to resist the temptation of an immediate reward in favor of a greater long-term payoff. It's the trait that allows people to stay focused on their goals, to persist through challenges, and to work towards something greater, even when the immediate rewards aren't obvious. And yet, when it comes to masturbation, frequent indulgence in the immediate pleasure can be a major roadblock to cultivating this key trait. Delayed gratification is fundamental for achieving success in virtually every area of life, whether it's academic, professional, or personal. It's what keeps you pushing through the tough times, continuing to work on your goals when you don't feel like it, and avoiding the temptations that could derail your progress. But masturbation, when it becomes a go-to method for seeking instant relief from stress, boredom, or anxiety, can undermine your ability to practice delayed gratification. The reason this is such an important issue is that the brain thrives on instant rewards. Every time you indulge in an act that gives you quick pleasure, whether it's eating a snack, scrolling through social media, or masturbating, you trigger a burst of dopamine, the brain's feel-good chemical. Dopamine is strongly tied to the pleasure and reward systems in the brain, which is why these immediate rewards feel so satisfying. However, when you constantly rely on these quick hits of pleasure, your brain starts to crave them more and more. The problem, this constant need for instant gratification, reduces your ability to delay that gratification, which is essential for achieving long-term goals. In the short term, masturbation may feel like a satisfying quick release. You feel a temporary sense of pleasure, followed by relaxation or even euphoria. It's easy to see why this would appeal, especially when you're dealing with stress, frustration, or boredom. But the more often you seek out this immediate reward, the more your brain gets used to it, and the more difficult it becomes to stay motivated for anything that doesn't provide that instant payoff. The issue is that life's most valuable goals rarely come with immediate rewards. Success in any field, whether it's a career, personal development, or relationships, takes time, effort, and persistence. You might not see the results of your hard work for months or even years, and during those periods, your motivation is fueled by your ability to delay gratification and stay focused on the bigger picture. When you've trained your brain to seek instant pleasure at every turn, you lose the ability to stay focused on the things that matter in the long run. Every time you indulge in quick pleasures like masturbation, you reinforce the habit of avoiding the discomfort of delayed gratification, and that makes it harder to stay on track with your long-term goals. For example, let's say you're working toward a big career goal. It could be preparing for an important presentation, meeting a deadline, or completing a project. The work is demanding, and at times it feels like it's never ending. The result of your hard work isn't immediate, but you know that in the long run, the payoff will be worth it. But in the middle of all this work, you face an urge to procrastinate, to escape the stress, and what do? Instead of sitting with the discomfort of the task and continuing to push through, you give in to the urge to masturbate, seeking that quick dopamine hit for relief. What happens next? You feel the temporary pleasure of that release, but it doesn't last. You feel relaxed for a while, but then that sense of urgency and unfulfilled goals creeps back in. The tasks that require focus and effort become even harder to tackle. Your mind wants more of the instant pleasure, and you're drawn away from the tasks that matter most. Over time, this behavior accumulates. Instead of building momentum and energy for your goals, you're using masturbation as an emotional crutch, reinforcing the habit of seeking short-term satisfaction instead of working through the discomfort of long-term goals. And the more you give in, the harder it is to break free from this cycle. This is why delayed gratification is so important. It keeps you focused on the future. It allows you to keep working through the difficult moments, because you know that the results will come eventually. But when you can't resist the urge for instant rewards, your long-term goals become harder to reach. It's like trying to drive forward but constantly taking detours, because you're chasing the next quick fix. The good news is, delayed gratification can be learned and strengthened. If you recognize that masturbation is becoming a barrier to your long-term goals, there are ways to break the cycle and rebuild your ability to delay gratification. It starts with understanding the power of your choices. You have the ability to choose whether to indulge in the quick fix or to stay focused on your goals. One approach is to start small. If you're working on a big goal, break it down into manageable tasks that you can focus on in short bursts. This makes the process of achieving your goal feel less overwhelming and more achievable, which makes it easier to stay committed. Each small task you complete builds momentum and makes it easier to stay focused. By rewarding yourself for each step you complete, you reinforce the idea that hard work pays off, even if the results aren't immediate. Another technique is practicing mindfulness. When you feel the urge to procrastinate or seek relief through masturbation, pause for a moment and ask yourself why you're feeling this way. Are you truly addressing a need, or are you simply avoiding discomfort? By becoming more aware of your motivations, you can make more conscious decisions about how to spend your time and energy. Remember that the most rewarding things in life are often the ones that require patience and effort. Whether it's advancing in your career, improving your health, or building deeper relationships, these goals take time, but they are far more fulfilling in the long run. The key to staying motivated is learning to appreciate the process, the journey, rather than just focusing on the immediate rewards. By practicing delayed gratification and making small intentional decisions each day, you can build the mindset and habits that will help you achieve your goals, one step at a time. The constant search for instant pleasure can rob you of the ability to focus on what really matters. Masturbation, especially when used as a coping mechanism, becomes a barrier to developing the critical skill of delayed gratification. By shifting your mindset and embracing the discomfort of working toward long-term goals, you'll regain control over your motivation, improve your focus, and unlock the power to achieve the things that truly matter in your life. Now that we've explored the subtle ways that masturbation can impact your motivation, energy levels, and overall productivity, it's time to shift the focus to what you can do to reclaim your drive and get back on track with your goals. The good news is, all of these effects are reversible. While it's easy to feel stuck in a cycle of instant gratification, there are concrete steps you can take to break free and rebuild your motivation. The key is to take control of your habits, acknowledge the role that masturbation plays in your life, and begin making conscious, positive changes that align with your long-term goals. First, let's acknowledge that the urge to seek immediate rewards, like the pleasure of masturbation, is deeply ingrained in human nature. It's not inherently bad to enjoy quick bursts of pleasure. After all, that's how our brains are wired. The problem arises when these quick pleasures become a way to avoid more difficult long-term goals, or when they become a habit that drains your energy and motivation over time. The key is finding balance. Masturbation in moderation doesn't have to be a problem, but when it starts to interfere with your drive, focus, and long-term success, it's time to make changes. The first step in reclaiming your motivation is becoming aware of how often you're turning to masturbation as an emotional escape or a coping mechanism. This awareness is crucial. Start paying attention to the times when you feel the urge to masturbate. Are you feeling stressed, bored, or anxious? Are you using it as a way to procrastinate or avoid facing uncomfortable tasks? Identifying these patterns is the first step in taking control over your habits. Awareness allows you to break the cycle before it spirals out of control, and it gives you the ability to make healthier choices moving forward. Once you've recognized the times when you rely on masturbation for relief, the next step is to address the underlying emotions or issues that are prompting these urges. It's important to start dealing with the real reasons why you turn to masturbation. Are you avoiding work, a relationship issue, or feelings of loneliness? Addressing the root cause of your stress or discomfort will help you manage your emotions in healthier ways and reduce your reliance on quick fixes like masturbation. Instead of reaching for an instant reward, try to engage with your emotions more consciously. Practice mindfulness or journaling. Talk to someone about what's bothering you, or engage in physical exercise to release stress. These healthier coping mechanisms can help you manage your emotions without resorting to immediate gratification. Building a routine that promotes long-term goals is another key to regaining your motivation. The more you build habits around activities that contribute to your success, the easier it will be to avoid the temptation of quick dopamine-driven rewards. Start by setting small, manageable goals for yourself every day. Whether it's working on a project for an hour, exercising for 30 minutes, or reading a chapter of a book. Each time you complete a goal, even a small one, you're reinforcing the habit of delayed gratification. Over time, as you begin to see the rewards of consistent effort, your motivation will shift. Instead of seeking immediate pleasure, you'll find satisfaction in the long-term results of your hard work. A big part of this process is also developing self-compassion. Many people who struggle with masturbation-related guilt are also hard on themselves. They view themselves as weak or undisciplined, which only fuels the cycle of shame and avoidance. But the truth is, breaking free from a habit takes time, and it's important to be kind to yourself along the way. If you slip up and give in to the temptation, don't beat yourself up over it. Acknowledge it, learn from it, and move forward. Self-compassion is about understanding that mistakes are a part of the process, and it's the consistent effort to improve that counts. One powerful way to rebuild your motivation is by practicing mindfulness. This means becoming fully aware of your thoughts, feelings, and urges, without judgment. When you feel the urge to masturbate, take a moment to pause and check in with yourself. Ask why you feel the need for instant relief. Are you stressed, anxious, or bored? By acknowledging your feelings in the moment, you can make a more conscious decision to either deal with those emotions directly or redirect your energy into something more productive. Mindfulness helps you become more in tune with your body and emotions, allowing you to make healthier choices and regain control over your habits. Another technique is building accountability. If you're struggling to break free from the cycle, consider sharing your goals with a trusted friend, family member, or even a therapist. Having someone to check in with can make it easier to stay on track, especially when the temptation to fall back into old patterns arises. Accountability helps you feel supported, and it also gives you the motivation to stay committed to your goals. Whether it's a fitness goal, a career aspiration, or just working on personal growth, having someone to encourage you can make a big difference in staying motivated. Finally, remember that patience is key. Regaining your motivation and breaking free from habits of instant gratification won't happen overnight. It's a gradual process that requires effort, consistency, and time. Be patient with yourself as you work through these challenges. Celebrate small wins along the way, whether it's successfully resisting the urge to procrastinate, completing a task without distractions, or simply noticing that you're feeling more focused and energized. Each step you take toward healthier habits is progress, and it's important to acknowledge that. In conclusion, the key to reclaiming your motivation lies in understanding the impact that masturbation, especially when used as an escape, can have on your energy, focus, and long-term success. It's about becoming aware of the patterns that hold you back, addressing the emotional triggers that lead to procrastination, and building a routine that promotes delayed gratification. By practicing mindfulness, self-compassion, and setting clear goals, you can break free from the cycle of instant pleasure and restore your motivation for the long-term goals that truly matter in your life. It won't be easy, but with consistent effort and patience, you'll find that you have the power to take control of your habits and your future. Remember, your motivation is one of your most valuable assets. Protect it wisely, and you'll unlock the drive to achieve your greatest aspirations.